Space Dandy Season 2, Episode 10, Lovers Are Trendy, baby. Now, this, I have to say, is probably my favorite episode of Space Dandy ever, just because of the way that it ended. I really loved it. I think pretty much all of us are kind of now forced to ship Dandy and Scarlett. I was excited that Scarlett was going to be in the episode. I always like when she's in there, because whenever she's in there, she's not like Honey when she's in there, where she kind of has like a passing scene where I think the most she was really in was the episode where we got her backstory. And any other time she's in there for maybe a minute, but whenever Scarlett's in an episode outside of when she's just in the beginning to do sort of her thing to kind of push them off and say you guys screwed up again, she's really in the episode. And this was just the same. We got to see her pull off one really cool trick when she was fighting against like the giant Santa snowball Oni thing that was happening. So I enjoyed that scene. We got to learn more about her. We learned that the whole premise of the episode was her fake or her hiring Danny to be her fake boyfriend, and it kind of just goes in line. Like every time we get any real story out of her, it's about how she's just looking for love and stuff. And this one, I hated that they kind of messed with our heads like that. I was just really loving the connection they made in the episode, and it kind of had the sort of typical story when that happens, where two people who don't really like each other end up liking each other in the end. But in the Dandy universe, it's just torture because they don't actually end up together. And it's not like they even found out and decided to, stay apart for whatever random reason. They just kind of don't really know, except for that little glance at the end. So I'm really hoping they don't just let this be like a one-off thing where it never comes back. Because, like I said, we're all kind of forced to ship them now. But I really, really love this episode. One thing that really caught me off guard that I didn't expect, which happened more towards the end of the episode, was once again there's a point to mention that we have yet another new song in the series. So that was really cool. Two new songs actually. We got an old song from season one, which they used in the episode, which was like our first really dramatic episode with the little girl. So we got that song back again, which I really love that song. That's a great one. We got the middle song, which is a song that started playing when Scarlett put the record on. That was a really great song. It sounded very similar to the one that played last week, or at least the sort of adjustments to the vocals that they did, where they made the voices sound really sort of robotic and stuff. It seemed the same, like they added the same effects from the disco episode. But I really love that song. And we even got a third song at the end, which I was really surprised by, and that was a pretty interesting song too. That was admittedly my least favorite song, but I still thought it was a good song. I didn't expect it to end the way that it did, but yet again, I think we've probably had it for a month in a row now, or probably 5 weeks instead of just 4. But every episode is ended with its own unique song, or at least using a song from an earlier part in the episode, and it hasn't been just the typical ending. So it's been unique endings over and over again. So it's really cool to have that yet again, because like I said, they didn't have any songs until really towards the very end of the episode, and I was just like, oh well, I didn't expect to be talking about this, but new songs again, which are both really good songs. But love the episode. I also love the really funny moments that we got in the episode, of course, which were mostly towards the beginning. Dandy finding all the random rare aliens like the giant snowman and the giant Santa, the giant squid, him burying Scarlett in the sand, and then her like running towards them, and then people talking about how the two lovers were chasing each other on the beach. I thought that was really funny. And then he like jumps in the water and he's swimming like normal, and she's doing like some Olympic swimming and stuff and going under and over, and I thought that was just really funny, the differences. But her boyfriend stalking her was really funny too, because it wasn't just like a normal stalking thing where someone's just like, oh, I'm in the background. He's in like a Gundam, and he's like peeking around corners and stuff. He's like looking over a tree. So it was really funny because it was so exaggerated. It's not just a person. It's a guy in a giant mech suit, and I thought that was really funny. So it was really cool to have that. And his name was like Dolph, like, and he was super huge. So I think the reference was to Dolph Lundgren, who's an actor. They mentioned Chuck Norris, which I thought was crazy when they did that, which was another cool random thing we learned about Scarlett, that her loving Chuck Norris fights or Chuck Norris films is why she ended up learning martial arts. So I thought that was pretty interesting, and it was yet again one of those real world references that they have every once in a while. And I always love when they do that, because it's like, oh, if I did know it just like that. And when they didn't say Norris, I was like, they said Chuck, and I'm like, I'm gonna look this up, and I figured it was Chuck Norris, and it was. So I love when it's something like that, especially if I don't know and I can at least guess, and then I look it up and it's a real thing. So I thought that was pretty cool. Overall, like I said, I think it's probably my favorite episode I've seen so far, and I don't know if it's just because it's I'm able to actually ship Scarlett and Dandy, which admittedly I'd never done for the show. It's just Dandy and his crew, they're doing their thing. We have our two female characters, which are Scarlett and Honey, and they come in every once in a while. And I, of course, I mention this every time they're even a small focus. I love seeing them in the episodes because it's mostly here's Dandy and here's the crew, here's QT and Meow. So I always love seeing them both in there, but this episode actually gave me a reason to really want to see one of them with Dandy, and it was really interesting. And Dandy actually being serious towards someone in the towards a woman in the episode was really interesting to see as well. So I love the episode. It kind of they just destroyed me on the ending when they didn't get together, but at the same time, it's like, well, it's Space Dandy, so you can't really expect it. But even if they did, and next week it was sort of like it didn't happen or something, even that would have been better than it just didn't work out. But I don't know. I highly doubt it'll ever happen, but I'd love to see them together now because we've had this episode, and that's all I'm going to think about now. So I hope they don't just forget it. And even next week, it was like just torture. Like they have this whole episode where it starts off funny and then it gets pretty emotional and serious between the two, and they hang out and stuff after the house blows up. And you know, for some reason that doesn't mess with Scarlett. It actually makes her laugh. And they get together and we go through all the craziness. And then the preview for next week's episode is another love episode where it's actually someone Dandy was with. And I don't know, it's like a heart in a weird box and stuff, and it says like the interdimensional, the love or love and stuff like that. So I don't know what that episode's gonna, really contain, but it seems like it's gonna be a lot of stuff with Dandy dealing with his past. But it seems like it's gonna be just as emotional, if not more, than this week. So it was really crazy to have this episode. I didn't see the preview is going to be someone he was with for real, and even though they broke up 10 years ago, it her coming back into his life in any form is clearly a big deal. That's why it's going to be the main focus of next week's episode. But I love this episode. Of course, comment below, let me know what you guys thought about it, your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. Honestly, there's not much to ask. There's not too many questions that came out of this episode. I just thought it was great. um, it was just a great episode. What do you guys think about it? I guess the big question really is, now that we've had this, if you've been sort of thinking about who you would put Dandy with, Scarlett or Honey, has this episode influenced you? Did the other episodes where they were focused, even if it was minor, did those episodes influence you? Who do you like more out of the girls, Scarlett or Honey? Because they were both in this episode, which I thought was pretty interesting. I didn't expect to see Honey whatsoever in this. I didn't think they would actually go to movies at all, but they do. And it was just an interesting scene. It wasn't super awkward or anything, which I thought it was going to be, but it was fairly dramatic. And that's was just another part where we really got to see Scarlett sort of get embarrassed. Like she realized, like, I'm getting attached to him because I actually like him. He actually gives a crap, at least a little bit. So what do you guys think about the shipping pairs? Would you do Dandy and Scarlett or Dandy and Honey? Comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.